I'm gonna repeat this one more time. So you guys ready for this? Another day, another gaming keyboard that we could add onto our playlist. Because hey, that's our job. And I actually kind of like doing this kind of stuff. It's really cool. Ever heard of the term basic premium gaming keyboard? Most probably not, because I just made that up after testing out this new gaming keyboard from HyperX. This one's gonna be a really quick one, so let's take a closer look right after this.
The Pure Base 600 is now available with a tempered glass panel with an easy mount, a couple of Pure Wings 2 fans, one of which is 140mm, with 3 modular interior drive caddies along with dual SSD brackets. Have nothing to hide with a Be Quiet Pure Base 600.
Alright, so what do we have here? Well, this is the new HyperX Alloy Elite gaming keyboard. It's priced around $110, so think of it as the Alloy FPS gaming keyboard that we took a look at a while back, and that was priced around $99. So this one is basically an Alloy FPS gaming keyboard with a few more additions. Let's start with the design and the build quality. It's constructed with a solid steel frame that's robust, so there are no flexes, which is good considering the premium price. The layout is also pretty much the same when you compare it to the Alloy FPS keyboard. It's a full-size keyboard that comes with a dedicated numpad, so that's pretty nice if you're working with a lot of numbers. HyperX has also included a single USB 2.0 pass-through port for quick data transfers, and it was something that the Alloy FPS lacked. And that was partly due to the removable cable, which was short and thin, so it wasn't capable enough to drive that bandwidth. The Elite, on the other hand, comes with a super thick cable. I mean, this is similar to what you'll find on the Corsair or higher-end Corsair keyboards. And that's kind of, it makes sense because the USB 2.0 pass-through port requires bandwidth, and so that's why they had to make it super thick, because it carries the signal cables inside. But again, it's the downside to this is that it's difficult to reroute in your desk, so I would keep that in mind. Again, this was designed for stationary use, so not portable use like what the Alloy FPS keyboard was designed for. So again, two different purposes, so yeah, keep that in mind. One of the nicest additions to the Alloy Elite is the inclusion of these dedicated media playback buttons. Honestly, I prefer them over secondary function keys, plus you also get a dedicated volume dial for those quick adjustments. What do you guys think of dedicated media playback buttons? Is it a must-have on a gaming keyboard, or is it something that's overlooked? Let us know in the comments down below. HyperX has also included a detachable wrist rest, which is awesome. It's mostly made out of plastic with an embedded texture grip for your palms. Don't expect silicone-like material found on Corsair's $200 K95 Platinum, but it gets the job done really well. They've also included contoured and textured keycaps for both FPS or mobile configurations, plus you also get a keycap puller, so that's a nice touch. So let's talk about the switches on the HyperX Alloy Elite gaming keyboard. And interestingly enough, HyperX played it safe this time by going for a traditional Cherry MX switch type instead of some custom design mechanical switch like what other reputable brands do. I have the model with the MX red switches, and honestly, it was refreshing to try these out again after switching between multiple keyboards over the past few years. My daily driver, the Logitech G Pro, features Romer G switches, which took me a while to get used to since they were lighter and a bit faster. The MX Red switches are a great option for starters who are looking to switch from a typical membrane or even mechanical keyboards, as it provides a good balance between actuations and tactile feedback. It only requires 45 grams of force to register a press, and actuation takes place at 2mm, so it's not the fastest when compared to the MX Speed or the Romer G, both of which that actuate at 1.2 and 1.5mm respectively. Honestly, in real-world use, you're not going to notice a huge difference when typing or even gaming, because all you need is a keyboard that's quicker or faster to respond to key presses, and also anti-ghosting, which is also an important element to have because you don't want to get screwed over in an intense gameplay session when switching weapons. There's a dedicated game mode button that locks the Windows key so you won't accidentally land on the desktop. Gaming on the keyboard was a pleasant experience. In fact, if you're looking for an alternative to the MX Speed switches that are found on much expensive keyboards, the MX Reds are a great option, especially if you're into FPS titles. I hopped into a quick Battlefield 1 deathmatch session and I was comfortably able to switch positions throughout the gameplay. The switches were responsive, didn't require much force to register, and even performing regular productivity tasks were great. So overall, the Alloy Elite checkmarks the basic criteria that most gamers are looking for. But ultimately, it all comes down to switch preferences for the end user. Some people prefer the clickiness and tactile responsiveness found on the MX Blue switches, while others prefer a more silent experience. And there are other factors to consider, and that's kind of the reason why there are a vast majority of switches that are available in the market today. The HyperX Alloy Elite can be picked up in 2 more variants, so you can get the keyboard with either the Cherry MX Blue switches, or you can opt for the Cherry MX Brown variant. Let's take a listen to how they sound. The lighting is pretty basic, just like the Alloy FPS gaming keyboard. All keys are individually backlit by a red LED. There's minimal spill across the device, and I like that. The lack of RGB may be a deal breaker for some, but it is kind of difficult to find a keyboard at this price point that features RGB lighting, so just be aware of that. It's also driverless, so it's designed as a plug-and-play solution, which can either be considered a positive or negative depending on what you expect from a peripheral at this price point. The lighting effects are built into the keyboard. You can adjust brightness through a dedicated button located at the top left-hand side of the keyboard. Next to that, you'll find the lighting effects key that cycles through 6 lighting modes. There's a static effect, breathing, followed by a keystroke effect, then ripple, then a simple wave that only flows in one direction, and finally, it ends with a custom mode that lights up the WASD keys, the inventory keys, the spacebar, and the control key. It can come in useful when playing FPS titles.
Say goodbye to cables. It's time to enjoy wireless audio with the Corsair Void RGB gaming headset. With a light and comfortable frame, low profile mic, on-headset volume control and mic mute, plus dual side illumination. Check out the Void RGB by Corsair, the perfect way to hear your game.
So to conclude, the HyperX Alloy Elite gaming keyboard is an interesting addition to HyperX's existing keyboard lineup, because if you think about it, they started off with the HyperX Alloy FPS gaming keyboard that was priced at $99. It was compact, it was portable, and I quite like that keyboard. But for $10 more, you're only getting detachable wrist rest, a dedicated set of media playback buttons, USB 2.0 pass-through port, and that's pretty much it. Nothing more, nothing less. If you're looking for RGB lighting, then I wouldn't recommend this keyboard because it doesn't feature that in the first place. But I am aware that they're launching the exact same keyboard with that feature for a bit more. So if you're willing to pay that premium price, and if you like HyperX's design, then yeah, by all means, it's a great option. But one of my concerns is the inability to program commands to individual keys because, first of all, this is a plug-and-play solution, so there's no dedicated driver software to command them in the first place. There are no multiple profiles to switch between. So if that's something that you value, then I would completely skip the Alloy lineup because none of their keyboards have that feature. So what do you guys think of the HyperX Alloy Elite gaming keyboard? As I mentioned previously, is this a premium basic keyboard? Let us know in the comments down below. I'm Ebor with HardwareCanucks. Make sure to subscribe for more similar content, and we'll see you in the next one.